We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Tua Tagovailoa, Miami Dolphins quarterback, finally returning against the Cardinals this week. Thank God. Very excited. Like, watching this film was probably the most fun I've had watching film in a while. Actually watching real quarterback play, because the Dolphins haven't had it in weeks now. So going over the first 2 weeks, even when Tua wasn't playing at his best, it was still so much better than what the Dolphins have had. Obviously, I do expect them to get better offensively, but I think the question is, how much better can they get? Can they get back to what they were last year? I don't know if I quite expect to reach that level, but there are, I think, a lot of positives to take. You know, if you look at the games, I'll show some clips, over the past couple weeks, and things that were just missed by the quarterbacks. With Tua being in the game, he's definitely going to be aggressive and make those types of throws. As you can see, like looking at that dig to Tyreek there over the middle. I think another reason I think the Dolphins will be better, even when Tua was playing, because I don't think McDaniel had quite figured out the game plan in those first 2 weeks. I think he's kind of figured out what this offense can do, and he trusts the offensive line more now to run the ball and do more of the play action. He was running a lot of screens when Tua was out there. I think they can get back to what they're really good at. That should help, I think, get Tua more opportunities to throw the ball. Having him back also just helps out with, like, your overall offense. Like, it opens up the playbook. You can do all the motion stuff, all, like, the ball handling plays where you have to do a lot of misdirection. Tua is very good at that, one of the better in the league with, like, his ball fakes. There was the turnovers. Some of them were on him, some were not on him. I think you live with that, with how aggressive that he will play, because that aggressiveness helps you score a lot more points. So even if, you might help out the other team at times, he will clearly help you get down and make overall just bigger plays, because that's what he does. He's a very aggressive down the field thrower. Teams will have to respect the pass more. It should also help out the running game. I think the margin for error gets much bigger when Tua is in the game, and you just get all those big plays created. Clearly, even when the offense was struggling, there was a clear difference that they could still move the ball and show some sort of effectiveness out there. So we'll start with this first play, bottom of the screen. Just Tua to Jalen Waddle, outside the numbers, just being able to throw the ball outside the number. Like, Tua is obviously a very good middle of the field thrower, but on like a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7 situation, being able to make this type of throw, like, this is such a good throw. This is a big time throw down the field. Look at when Tua's ready to release. He starts to release before Waddle's even broke and get to the outside, and just being on the same page. It's very difficult to play in this offense with how much everything is timing based. Not even just like the quick hitters, the drifts, the glance routes over the middles, even like, deep outs. Tua's throwing the anticipation. Him and Waddle and Tyreek are just have way better chemistry than what the Dolphins had. So, like, I think at worst, the offense just gets way more exciting to watch. You're at least going to have more excitement on Sundays. There will still be, frustrations, I'm sure. But it seems like with McDaniel, even though, we still had struggles offensively, it felt like McDaniel found more of a groove. The play calling overall was cleaner. I think if, he can keep that with Tua, the offensive line is actually not playing that bad. Tua being able to actually get the receivers involved, who just are kind of like the players that haven't made an impact in weeks because of the quarterback play, is huge. Like, the ability to make this throw has just basically been non-existent. Like, they haven't completed anything like this since Tua's been out of the game. And this is something like you can expect from him at least once a game, that type of throw, those big outbreakers, which is huge. And then plays like this, the one to Waddle, the one to Tyreek, just absolutely huge completions. This is something that really only happened in week 1, and not even something we saw last year. So this is something that could possibly be new for this year. Almost feels like you're starting the season over. But down at the bottom of the screen, Tua usually takes this. I think he identifies pre-snap. Like, they have this 2 safety look. They're playing split field safety, middle of the field open. Tua usually takes this. Last year, he would have taken this 100 out of 100 times, just hitting Tyreek. He identifies. He sees, like, he hasn't thrown this yet. So once he hasn't thrown it already on the break, Tua's not throwing this ball. He's an anticipatory thrower. That ball would have been out literally like a second ago. But he sees the safety break on Tyreek. He knows it's going to happen. He's watched enough film. This is something they clearly worked on. He just resets. I think if he was feeling pressure in the pocket pretty quickly, he would have thrown the ball to Tyreek. But he feels like he just has so much time. So he's going to boom, little pump fake there, and then find Waddle working over the top of it on like a deep over route. So love that adjustment, and that's just something you're not doing with the backups in, no matter who it was. Like, they're not going to have that sort of feel to make that type of play. And then Tua just does it again. This time, I think made a little more sense. The other one, Tyreek was wide open, so it was pretty crazy. He went off of it. This one, Waddle just isn't as open, so it does make sense. They're squeezing this. This time they're not playing too high. It is more of a one robber lurk type player. So this guy's lurking in the middle. Once he sees, like, right there, this guy come down, he knows this guy's going to work towards the middle of the field. He's just got to get Tyreek across his face, anticipate, throw it across. He sees him open up his hips. Big plays. The big play ability is now back for your wide receivers, Tyreek, Waddle. Instantly, that's just one of the biggest parts. And then also just these throws off of play action. Tua's just willing to make them. The backup quarterbacks are not, and I understand why they're not. Like, these are throws that just most QBs don't even attempt throughout the game, except for mainly Shanahan system quarterbacks. And this is something like Tua and just like a few others are doing on a very consistent basis. This one is, more of like a 7 route corner, but it's more of a finding space. Him and Tyreek just being on the same page. And this is like where having your starter back, where clearly they have an understanding of what they're doing. Tyreek starts to break this out, and like if he has the ability to run this towards the sideline, but he starts to feel like with how this is working out, like he identifies, sees this receiver also working out maybe a little bit late. He should slow this down and sit in between there. And that's a lot of trust in your receiver to throw this ball from Tua. Anticipate, boom, in front of the safety, in between like all 4 of these defenders. Just insane ability that is just missed desperately. Like, this is how, like, you have guys who are extending plays on the back end of plays. This is how Tua, like, I think Kurt Warner does a great job of explaining this. He basically, like, anticipatory throwers, they're the guys, they extend plays on the early part of downs. This is how he makes the impact. Like, look how early he's going to throw this ball. And just absolute accuracy. I think, accuracy, anticipation, his eye manipulation, ball handling. Those are all things he's very, very good at compared to most quarterbacks in the NFL. He has his downsides, and he'll make his mistakes. But overall, these are the types of throws. Just stuff like this, too. Just, like, the ability to work within the pocket. You could tell Dolphins weren't doing the complicated footworks. It was more just, like, 1-step drops, 3-step drops. But here where Tua opens up his hips to the right, resets in the pocket, just gives himself a better angle, more space to work within the pocket to make these throws. It gives him more different windows. It can also manipulate secondary defenders at times, and then just tight window throw over the middle. Other quarterbacks, the other backups, were not even attempting to make tight window throws like this, but hitting Waddle right in the chest. They weren't even making throws a lot of times when the guys were open on like these glance drift routes and stuff like that. So just that ability, I think, helps out pretty greatly. And this is just like second and medium, second and long-ish type of play, and he just converts. And you can see, like, off play action, boom, Huntley hits the back foot. Tua would be making this throw to Tyreek. He knows he has this, like, Waddle clearing out space. Once he sees this linebacker right here, he would, boom, knows he has time. He would just be moving this linebacker with his eyes and then make this throw over the middle to Tyreek with anticipation. Like, even though Huntley starts to get pressured, that's the difference. This is why Tua helps out the offensive line a lot. Because even if they lose, he's still able to get rid of the ball so quickly. And that would have been a big completion over the middle of the field that the Dolphins just didn't get in this game. And big reason why Tyreek, I think, Tyreek and Waddle just didn't get really any catches in this game. Because Huntley just wasn't willing to pull the trigger this time around. I think he was more willing to pull the trigger in the New England game. Just not quite feeling it. And I'm not saying, like, every single play I'm about to show, like, Tua's obviously going to throw all of them and complete all of them. I'm not saying he's perfect or anything like that. It's just, like, the percentage of him throwing those balls or completing them are vastly higher than it is with the backups. This play, it could have been either one. I don't know really what Huntley's looking at. I don't understand why his first read would be OBJ over the middle here. Like, he's kind of, like, looking this down. It should literally be Tyreek understanding, like, just looking at what's happening here coverage-wise. Glance around and understanding, like, what Dolphins usually throw. So, like, throwing that. Also, Waddle is open for, like, the hook. Like, even if he starts to the left here and goes to OBJ, shouldn't he go straight to Waddle off of that or start with Tyreek? It doesn't really make sense, and he scrambles, doesn't pick up a first down, and this was a third down situation that should have been converted that you end up having to punt. So just, like, that's kind of where you're going to get a huge, huge boost. So I feel pretty confident that the Dolphins offense is going to be quite a bit better. Obviously, it's going to be quite a bit better. I think it will be even better than it was in week 1 and week 2 with Tua, because I think McDaniel's found a rhythm. I think the running game has found a rhythm. The O-line has been playing better. I think Tua is coming with a lot of passion. Maybe there could be a little bit of a slow start, like I do. Like obviously they play Buffalo week 2. I think the Cardinals, they could find a nice rhythm. There could be a little bit of maybe rust to get off, but I think for if Tua is to play and then it plays for the rest of the season, I think the offense will look a lot better. And if the defense can play up to the same level, I do think it's probably too late overall to make it a chance. But it is not over for the season. It really isn't. It's not looking great. Lots of negatives, but this is the hope that keeps fans coming back. But at least will be fun to watch. Down at the bottom here, I think once like Huntley recognizes like this is cover 2, like he sees the safety roll over, he sees this corner staying down in the flat. This should be the guy he's reading. Once he sees him open up his hips, I don't know why he comes off this. This doesn't really make sense to me. Like Tua would make this throw to Waddle pretty much every time. I've seen him make this plenty of times. Once he sees that corner and like this safety has deep depth, sit on this, like he should be floating this ball out to Waddle, throw with anticipation to this spot out here, hit the whole shot, but he doesn't. He panics a little bit in the pocket, like he had time, doesn't make this throw. So pretty confused about that one. This is down in the red zone where I think Skylar starts over here. Obviously, with Waddle, he's reading this 2-man combination. He gets a 2-on-2. So once you get 2-on-2, you got to be able to take this. He has enough time in the pocket. Waddle takes an inside release. Once he sees Waddle take an inside release, I think Skylar is like nervous and comes off of it. Waddle is one of the few receivers in the league that can take inside releases on these outside breaking routes and still get separation. He's done it plenty of times. Tua makes those throws. He pretty much every time Waddle's taken like an inside release on an outside route or an outside release on an inside route, I've seen Tua throw that plenty of times. Here it would just be an anticipatory floater to the back of the end zone, and Skylar just isn't willing to make it. I'm not saying this would be a touchdown or Tua's in the game, but I am very confident that he would at least attempt this throw, and for this being the red zone, that is NFL open if that is thrown on time. Just missed opportunities like this. Another play, off play action, boom. Tyreek should be your read. It's open, doesn't take it. Space is there. Linebackers are pulled down. This guy gets widened. I don't know why we just don't take that. Those are the types of plays that you're missing with him not in the game. And like here's an example of it. Tua off the play action. One, I think he also sells play action much better than the other quarterbacks. Like you can see, like his ball handling is so good. And he's much quicker with his feet. The timing, I think his feet and eyes are always tied together. I think the linebackers get more sucked down when he's selling these things really well. And if they are gaining a bunch of depth, that should help you with your running game and maybe underneath options. But this is just like the throws he's willing to make, boom, off of it. Even with the safeties not getting a ton of depth, maybe not even a ton of separation there until late, he's making that throw and it gets completed. This ball even gets tipped. Like that linebacker right there tips it, so it like goes into Waddle slowly and actually gets him hit because the ball was tipped. But even with the ball tipped, you still get a nice completion for a first down. There's lots of big plays. Even simple stuff like this. This is nothing insane, but this is something that like just wasn't happening with Tua out of the game. Obviously, like he can work a quick game, but like he just reads this, understands like what's going on. Like his eyes go here, sees that this guy's opened up his hips. He's guarding him one-on-one. Like he's matched up right there. So all he has to do is locate the guy that's on Tyreek. If this guy works over the top, boom, you just take the quick little hitter, Hill down in the flat, and you just get an easy completion for a third down gain. I feel like this is something that they weren't even able to do on a consistent basis without Tua back there, and that's not even anything that's crazy. The motion, identify, that it's man to man with Tyreek going back and forth. Sees that he gets man to man, reads depth, leverage. Sees that this guy's opened up his hips. Boom, anticipate, throw the ball, put it on the outside shoulder, accurate, great ball placement. This guy tries to undercut it. It's just third down conversions become a much higher rate passing the ball. I actually think they were probably even better. And then even some of this stuff, like where this is why they really lost the Bills game, was like I think just early on they lost momentum and they got down early, and the Bills were able to run the ball effectively. They didn't even have to throw the ball, and the Dolphins I think just struggle to play from behind when they have to play like true pass set games. So maybe playing the game a little more conservatively early on, but this is an absolute rocket. This is 3rd and like 13. This is an absolutely insane throw and great play to look off, hold the safeties, freeze everyone with your eyes, and then rip this. Look how early he throws this ball. And for him to throw it this early, like, look when he's ready to release this. He's starting to release it right there. I even froze it a little bit late. But, like, when DeBose was, like, at, like, the 47, he was starting to release it. DeBose ends up at the opposite side of the field at the 40. So he was right here. He was starting to release it with DeBose still 13 yards away from where he was. That's insane. And it still hits DeBose, like, in, like, the upper chest, like, shoulder area. Like, if he, like, and if he knows the ball's going to come right off his break, it would hit him right in the chest if he slowed down, too. Like, that's an insane throw that turned into an interception that led to the Bills getting a 7-point lead because they scored right after that. Then this was probably my favorite Tua play of the game because he feels the space open up. He sees Waddle. It's not open right away. This guy's here. But he knows that if he, manipulates this guy with his eyes, steps up in the pocket, gives himself a little bit more time, this can open up over the middle, does that reset. Tua is able to reset. His upper body is so, like, twitchy. He's able to, like, reset and release so fast. Really, really love that quick release. And then finds Waddle over the middle. You're missing stuff like that, too, because usually with the backups in, if they didn't have their first read, they would panic and start running. Tua's ready to, run, but also still, boom, throw the ball down the middle. Obviously, he needs to slide, stay healthy, keep himself going. But there's a lot to like. Look at him here, process, get this touchdown. Just want to show his eyes. Like, nothing was open on his play, but you can just tell, like, he shows a field numbers-wise. Like, the first read's not there, comes to his second read, sees that this part of the field is really congested with players, knows he's not going to be able to get it off. He feels that this, like, once he goes here too, he feels that this guy's going to be on him, and he's not going to be able to really read the defense here and throw these throws over the middle. So he instantly just gets to his check down. Just good decision making. Knows numbers-wise he's going to have the number advantage over here. Smythe just has to get body on one guy, and Achane walks into the end zone. This is the controversial one. Like, you don't know whose fault it is exactly. I think this is a difference, though, is once the mistakes happen with DeBose and Chosen in this game, the other receivers are back, so he's going to have Odell. Odell hasn't had a chance to play with a real quarterback yet. Malik Washington's healthy. It feels like those guys have a better understanding where to be than Chosen and DeBose. Chosen clearly doesn't get to the right spot and slips here. I do think even when Tua threw it, like, he still slightly overthrew it. But with a better receiver, I don't think it turns into an interception. So to me, that was like a little bit on Tua, a little bit on the receiver. Also, Tua, I think his footwork was a little bit like heel clicky. Like, I feel like he usually has a wider base. So, like, right there, he heel clicks. When I usually think he actually has a pretty good base and footwork within the pocket. But yeah, that was like just a little bit. Everything was off, and having, I think, Tyreek and Waddle were not rotating out of the game this quickly, and the other ones, and I think they're going to want to get active. So hopefully they can stay healthy. Hopefully, Craycraft will be back soon and all of that, and they can not have those issues. This was the bad one. This interception is clearly on him. I mean, the O-line loses up front. This one's not necessarily like, oh, he made a bad read. Like, the other, sometimes you have interceptions where you, like, make a bad read and you throw it to a defender. This one, it was just, he should have taken the sack. So, like, he still made a bad decision, but his decision wasn't like, oh, I'm going to try to make this read and throw it over the middle and it gets picked. This is him just trying to throw it away, and then he didn't have the arm strength. It gets floated up. So still a poor decision, just a poor decision in a different way, I guess, than most interceptions usually are. Because it's usually not a throwaway poor decision, but that's where, like, the lack of maybe arm strength comes into play, because he's not able to get it off, and then it gets intercepted, unfortunately. But I think you obviously don't want these plays to happen, but I would much rather live with stuff like this with Tua at quarterback than the backups not being willing to throw the ball at all, because if you don't have that trigger to pull the ball down the field, like this throw right here, this is a trigger that if you don't have, you're not going to make big plays in this offense. You need to have this. Tua looking off, like, with his eyes there, seeing that it's too high, coming back, sees that how much depth the safeties have. The safeties are getting a bunch of depth. First of all, kind of crazy release. Waddle releases to the outside again and still breaks across the middle on these deep, like, drift glance routes. But just number-wise, understands, like, sees that there's four guys over here too high to reset in the pocket. Your feet, after not looking to this side of the field with pressure bearing down on you, to set your feet like that and rip this ball with anticipation over the middle is insane. Like, he knew, like, numbers wise, and saw that the linebacker moving out here, that he was gonna have space over the middle as long as, like, the safety wasn't, like, coming down, lurking, robbing. And once he identifies that, it's just ball out quick. Sometimes you just gotta trust what you see on the opposite side, knowing that from the other side of the formation what you're gonna get. And these are throws that you're just never gonna have, even in his worst games. Like, this Buffalo game was not a good game from him. You're still getting better, much higher QB plays on the positive ones than you were getting without him. So, very excited for Tua to get some action and hopefully stay healthy the rest of the season. Really exciting to see what the Dolphins bring. I think that's kind of like where you're at. I know a lot of fans have kind of lost hope, don't have promise in the season, and it's definitely fair. It has looked very, very bad. But if they can turn it around and show something, I think that could be pretty fun. And we've seen Tua make runs before. We've seen him go like 8-1 at certain points in stretches. Dolphins have had good stretches of games. Kind of starts with the Cardinals games. I think they could come out hot, but after that they would get Buffalo, which would be very interesting to see if they can at least play them much, much tighter, which I think they can. It will be in Buffalo. It just depends if those turnovers happen, which were a combination of having fourth, fifth, sixth string receivers out there, and then Tua not playing the best on some of those plays. But yeah, really excited to watch him play this week. Definitely the most excited I've been to watch a game all year, because Dolphins will have real quarterback play. For once, it's been tough watching without him. Like, even the people, like, even if you're not a big Tua fan, like, even if you're a Tua hater, which those obviously exist, there's a lot of up and down. I think even the Tua haters can admit, for the most part, like, the team will obviously get better offensively. It's just how much better will they actually get? And I actually think they will get quite a bit better. They will definitely not be bottom of the league. I think they'll actually get into that top half. But yeah, should be exciting to watch. So if you guys are like, comment, subscribe,